Hello, everyone. My name is Brett Keane, and have you ever been to a funeral, or you're getting ready to go to a funeral, or someone's died in your life, where you're just standing near some person who really is into those whole primitive supernatural beliefs that Christianity or the Muslim belief teaches you, and they're sitting there and they're looking around and they're trying to concoct some kind of awesome, clever, godly thing to say to you so you don't feel like puking or crawling into a corner and dying. And what they do is they look in the eye, and there's several things that religious people will say to try to make you feel better whenever you're in a horrible situation. Now, before we get into this, we at least have to give them credit for at least attempting to come up with some kind of thought. Of course, one could argue that they're just parroting what they've heard other religious people say, the ones that usually are the ones handing out collection plates. But I'm sure you've heard this shit many times. I know Satan over here has. And is that person that has died is going to a better place. Now, let's keep in mind that the person that has just died, it's either been some horrible disease or it's been something really bad. Perhaps they had a heart attack in their own home. Just a while back, we had an old man who lived nearby in our neighborhood who wasn't found for 2 days. He died staring out at his window waiting for his grandkids to come visit him. I kid you not. It was in the newspaper. What happens is the guy was sitting in front of the window waiting for his grandkids, and apparently something got screwed up because they didn't show up but 2 days later and shit with their mother, and what they could see was an old man just sitting there in a chair staring out, hollow-eyed, empty-eyed, whatever you want to call it. And I don't know the family personally, so I don't know the comments that was made to them. But what you can know is that there are people out there who will tell you that it's good that this person passed away. It's good that this person died because now they're going to heaven. They're going to be walking with fucking Jesus and shit on golden roads and pearly gates and all this shit. And I never understood that because Jesus was always supposed to be like a humble man. But when I think about it, he's not like the poor guy who came to earth to teach us how to live rich. He was basically living with his rich daddy and then came down and visited us and pretended to be poor for a little bit and shit. Kind of like a white guy from uptown visiting the ghetto acting like he gives a shit. That's just how I see it. So, I think we can all relate. So, when you hear these things like that, and there's some people out there that don't die from natural causes. Some people go down in a blaze of fucking glory. And there's some people out there who die in very embarrassing ways, like choking on chicken bones and shit, or not swallowing a cherry properly and they fall dead. Or they end up sitting there laying in their bed one night and they fucking vomit and choke on their own fucking spew. So, when people say you're going to a better place and shit, what exactly does that mean? And do people really want to go to that better place that everybody talks about? I mean, seriously, how many mothers and fathers out there have you heard say, you know what, I've got 3 children, but I can't wait until I fucking die so I can go to the better place and shit and leave these kids in diapers and stuff like that? How often do you hear that?
Well, not quite to that extent. A lot of people can't wait to get to heaven and stuff. So I don't know that they, really mean right at that moment. Or
You ever,
themselves,
yeah. You ever heard a single mother who is laying in a hospital bed who's giving birth to a child, and she's going to end up dying from the fact that she's giving birth to a child and the pregnancy went bad? Have you ever heard a woman say, oh wow, I would rather go to heaven than be able to spend any time with this baby that I have worked so hard to be able to put forth into the world? No, you haven't. So what do people mean whenever they say this? Are people just saying this to bullshit us? Or are they actually saying it because they think we'll feel better? Who's going to feel better about the situation? The person that's dead don't feel shit. And everybody that's left behind is the one that's suffering and going through pain. Could you imagine that, being the child of the mother who died giving birth to you? Could you imagine how that could screw with a person's head? That your life actually caused the removal of the person who gave life to you? Wow, that's pretty rough, don't you think?
Yeah, that is pretty rough.
So what do you think they mean when they say that shit?
I don't know. I think it's just one of those situations where they don't mean that they want to go right then, but later on, people are afraid to die. And if, they don't know what's going to be out there. Not really.
Let me ask you something, and be perfectly honest with me. I told you about my conversations with Mormons in the past coming and visiting the house, right? Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Now, if a Mormon were to walk up to my house right now, and I were to reach into my closet and pull out my big-ass machete that has been sharpened recently, and the Mormon were to open the door and I were to hold it above my head, do you think that the Mormon would smile at me and say, "Thank you, Jesus"? Or, "Holy fucking shit!" and run?
I think they'll run.
Oh darn, I need some soda. I got a little excited there. I'd run too. I'm not religious, but something about a goddamn machete and a big 6'4" man weighing 200 pounds fucking makes me nervous. So, I don't know, I'd probably run and stuff. So, as we know, although Mormons are the correct Christianity according to the United States of America today, they apparently are in no rush any more than the Baptists and Catholics to get to heaven. Now, don't get me wrong, religious people have been known to love homicide, but they're not into suicide as much, unless you head over to the Middle East. But that's a whole different story. Thank you. Be cool.